Welcome to another edition of Enter Iowa Outdoors. We are going to be working on we're spooling some line onto my bait casting reel today. We're going to be using 30-pound fire line. This is a super line is what they like to call it. It's kind of a blend of braid and almost like a copolymer. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to have a little bit more abrasion resistance. And I have been using this line religiously for the past couple of years, and I tend to like it a lot. Some people like to say, well, why are you using 30-pound line? Well, 65-pound Power Pro or things like that I think is a little much for what we're trying to accomplish as far as catfishing. I think a good 30-pound braid or super line like fire line does the job just fine. So what we're going to start to do first is we're going to take some monofilament off of this pen reel. I use this pen reel to kind of hold my leader lines that I use and my backing lines that I use on my bait casters. The problem with some of these super lines and some of these braids is if you put them directly onto the reel, what will end up happening is it won't stick to the spool very well. These spools are made of stainless steel and they're really slick. Mono, on the other hand, will stick a little bit better to these spools. So what we do is we use about 5 or 6 yards of mono backing, then we tie our mono to our braid and then fill the spool the rest of the way up to keep it from slipping on the spool. So we're going to have to show you the knot that we use to join these two lines. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to pull out a little bit of line. I'm going to set that over there. I am going to run this mono through the first eyelet. What that does is I think it helps guide the line onto the reel a little better. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our backing line. This is 30-pound trilene, big game, by the way. And we are going to run it underneath the spool, and we're going to try and get our fingers on that part of it. So we're going to take it, going to do one overhand knot, run it back underneath, and then through that loop that we just made. And what that did was that just made a really nice little slip knot. So I can pull and it'll tighten itself up against our spool. Once we find that it's nice and tight up against our spool, I'll take my knife and I'll cut the tag in as short as I can possibly get it. Okay, so we got our short tag in there. And we're going to butt it up against that spool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start filling the reel a little bit up with some line. As you can see, it's starting to fill up really nice. And we'll just fill it up with maybe 10 or 12 yards, just like that, just so that there's enough line on there so it won't slip. I give it a little pull just to make sure it's not going to slip. And then what we'll do is we'll come to our pen reel that I'm using for storage, and we will cut that off right there. So now we have this end. We're not filling it all the way up with mono. So what we have to do is we have to join our mono and our braid together. So I'm going to release the bail on this so it's a little easier to work with. I like to use this kind of knot. What I do is I take the two and I cross them right there, and then I'll take the braid and I will start to spin it around the mono. I'll do about 4 or 5 wraps of that. Okay, then I'll join the two together at the top and cross them there as well. Then I'll take my mono and I'll do 4 wraps of the mono around that. So it kind of makes an O loop, just like that. Then I'll take all 4 ends and I will cinch them all down at the same time. Once I get them down cinched, I'll wet it just a little bit with some saliva to keep the knot lubed, and I'll pull it tight. So now we've joined our mono and our braid together with one single knot. Then we'll just cut off the tags. I'll do this off camera because it's a lot easier. There's one tag end. I try to keep these tag ends a little short because they're going to be on the spool of the reel. There's two tag ends. So we cut those tag ends nice and short. It's a good strong knot. So now all we're going to do is I'm going to put my fingers up here a little farther. Okay? And as I put my fingers up there, oh, got a little bit of a backlash here. This mono has a memory, so had to pull a little bit of it off. So we'll close the bail, hold the mono on there a little bit tighter. We'll close the bail, get our fingers out here to where we can control the tension of the line. Then we'll just start reeling the line onto the reel. Okay, here's our knot. Here it comes through the guide. There you go. Now we're starting to put braid on that reel. And we're gonna reel it for a little while. The nice thing I like about Fireline is it does not fray. A couple of things I figured out about spider wire, and even with Power Pro, when it starts to get old, it'll start to fray and you won't notice it. So this is what I like about Fireline the most, is that it's got a lot of abrasion resistance and it does not like to fray at all. So I can actually put a good amount of line on here and just keep using it and using it and using it year after year. I know people that have put this Fireline on their reels and have used it 3 or 4 times or 3 or 4 years before they ever had to reline their rods. So we're gonna fill this spool up real good. We're getting there to where we need to be. Slow down every now and then. Kind of check your work, check your progress. Alright, so it looks like we got plenty of line on there now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off the spool with my razor knife, and we're pretty much done. I try to keep it tight for a little while, but because sometimes it'll come off the spool or it'll backlash just sitting in there like that. So what I tried to do is I find the eyelet for the hook, your hook keeper, and run it through there. Keep it nice and tight, and then I will make a couple small square knots right there to keep the line where I want it to be until it's time to start rigging this thing. Once I rig it, I won't worry about it. But so there we go. Got a fully lined reel with some 30-pound Fireline, and it's nice and tight on there, nice and even across the whole thing. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything to any comments, even if you guys think I'm doing it wrong, please comment in the comment section, and we will definitely get back to you. And also, don't be afraid to send us an email. Our email will be in the description down below. Thanks, guys. Have a really nice day, and we'll see you in Iowa's Outdoors.